Bear in mind the time is short. Suresh.
Sir, as the Minister himself has admitted, the economic growth rate is slowing down, and with the best of times, it will go down to about 7%. Sir, I think China is worried about the fact that every time the growth rate falls by 1% point, they feel that they're going to lose at least something like 10 million jobs, which otherwise would have been added. I would request the Minister to please come out with some sort of a matrix between the falling rate of growth and how much of the employment we are going to lose. Sir, the Minister had presented as a full-fledged finance minister a budget, and I think he was one of the last which produced the revenue surplus in the budget. So over a period of time, we are seeing a declining fiscal situation. And I'm surprised by the word used by the Minister that there is a fiscal consolidation. So it's the highest fiscal deficit in the last few years, the highest current account deficit, almost touching to 2.5%. There's a revenue deficit which is rising very rapidly. There's a trade deficit which is also adding to the woes. And to top it all, one of the highest public debt to GDP ratio among the developing countries. Now I'm just wondering, in this type of scenario, when the growth rate is falling down, and when we like to put more public investment into the economy to actually kickstart the economy, where is the money going to come from? It will only happen at the expense of further deteriorating our fiscal situation. So my request to the Minister is that he has spelled out a huge agenda for the new government to be implemented. I was just wondering, can he also spell it out a little more and say that where is the money we are going to find in the economy where we can actually kickstart the economy? Where is it going to come from? So secondly, the infrastructure is a very important issue. And in fact, we want 9% of GDP now to be invested into infrastructure, which is now currently about 4%. Now again, this is linked to that. Can the infrastructure investment take place from private sector alone? And if it is going to do that, who is going to pay the user charges which private sector will expect to make the project bankable? And therefore, is it going to come from private investment? Then, with what the user charges issues have been addressed. If it is going to come from public investment, I just talked about the fiscal situation, how is it going to happen? But in any case, sir, on infrastructure, my request to the Minister is that debt is something which comes little later. First, we have to find an equity to finance infrastructure. Where are we going to find this equity for infrastructure? Is a major challenge for the whole world, also for India. I would request Minister to talk about it little more. Sir, delivery of service, particularly the quality aspect of it, is a major challenge, has been for us for a long time. And in fact, I would request Mr. Mukherjee, who has been also the Deputy Chairman Planning Commission, how are you going to address the issue now? Because education, we are trying to increase the coverage of education, but is the quality issue addressed? Is the same in case of health sector. So this is something which we'll need to look at. Also the external situation. Sir, we already had almost $65 billion going out of our foreign exchange reserves because the FIs withdrew the money, which is putting tremendous pressure on our current account situation. So at a time when our remittances from non-residents have reached the highest level ahead of China, ahead of Philippines, ahead of even Mexico. That means despite all this, our current account situation is showing signs of stress. Now how are you going to handle the external situation which is also going to put a lot of pressure on rupee? And that again will have some adverse impact on the economy in the years to come. So I would request the Minister to make a statement about how does he see the rupee performing in the next few years' time in the light of this tremendous pressure on our external account. Sir, employment, which I just started by saying, is a very important issue. We don't really calculate the loss of employment in unorganized sector, like particularly for construction, where the DLF and Unitex shares falling becomes a big news. But because of that, millions of workers losing jobs in that sector who do not have any protection whatsoever in social safety net, nothing. They are gone to the villages, they have no voice, they cannot talk about it. So can we actually think about some scheme for such workers who are really lost? You started a scheme for widows to be given pension. I welcome the scheme. But sir, the widowhood is not something which is going to haunt us as much as these 200 rupees of pension that she is going to get. So the Minister really believes that a widow can survive on 200 rupees a month? Is it something like a cruel joke on a widowhood of the women of India? I would request the Minister at least to raise it 10 times, if not substantial, but at least something which can be reasonable, can be respectable figure. So 2,000 rupees would be really good. And sir, the Constitution of India provides for taking care of some of these backward areas of India in terms of giving up development boards for them. In Maharashtra, we created one for the rest of Maharashtra and this. So I would request the minister, this is the demand which has been pending with the government for a long time, made by the state government as well, but has been made by me for a long time, many times, because I have been a member of parliament representing Konkan. So I would request the minister, can he create a new framework, a new regime in which the region like Konkan, which is one of the most backward ones but has a huge potential to grow, can they be actually be taken care of? And sir, the government has taken credit for a laudable program which was endorsed by almost all parties in the parliament, that we must write off loans of farmers. But sir, there are many segments of farmers who are not yet been covered by the loan waiver scheme. Also are the fishermen who cannot be treated differently. Because how are the fishermen are different than farmers? They only do fishing in sea, farmers do it on land, and farmers get benefit of loan waiver program. Can we not think about having a loan waiver program for fishermen as well on the same line? So I am just winding up, sir. I am surely winding up. So this is something. So sir, my request to Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, who is so knowledgeable, I don't see anyone as knowledgeable, as experienced as he is, has spelled out an agenda for the future. Can he actually now give a prescription for future, not just agenda? What needs to be done is known to us, but how it's to be done is something important. How do you manage fiscal situation of India while going in for development of the country? How do you make sure that economic growth takes place, which also takes care of employment potential of economy? And agriculture, which is the root cause of the problem, only 18% of GDP coming from agriculture, and as the government's own admission, more than 62% people depend on it. So the root cause of poverty, how do you address that? And therefore, sir, my request to the minister is, please spell out, not just agenda for the next government, because probably he also knows that the next government will be from this side, which will be going there, so they will have to do something. But, sir, my request is that knowing his political wisdom of spelling out an agenda, I am sure will also give us his piece of advice as to how to address the challenge. Thank you.
Dr. Sujan Chakravarti.